What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Scent Bubble. So today I wanted to do a hot take. It's been a while since we've done a hot take, and this one is on Polo Blue Parfum. Parfum is the most raved on in terms of being the most, I don't know, fragrance with depth in comparison to the EDP and EDT, which I tend to agree with, but I don't think this fragrance is all that. But I wanted to revisit it just to make sure I felt how I truly feel and to see if it's changed, because sometimes things do change and I tend to give stuff credit later on if I overlooked it. So in the opening, the fragrance is quite nice, very fresh, blue, somewhat aquatic, very natural smelling. But I will say this, don't be tricked for the illusion of the opening. There are many fragrances that have an incredible opening, and what the fragrance dries down to is the fragrance you're left with, and that's where your judgments should be placed. Now, on the dry down, it pretty much turns into Nautica Voyage. I'm not gonna lie. I would say even lesser than Nautica Voyage, because it tends to lean quite metallic. Nautica Voyage typically has a little bit more crisp and freshness to the aquatic due to the green apple note in it. So it doesn't, there is a metallicness to it, but it's more aquatic and apple than it is metallic. This fragrance typically just dries down to a very dry, metallic, citrus fragrance. So for me, again, I still feel the way I used to feel about this, and that's that it's definitely not worth the retail money for it. Even at a discounter level, I wouldn't agree with picking this up, because Nautica Voyage is better and it's only 15-20 bucks. Discounters, I think you can get it for like 15. Ross, TJ Maxx, any of those, you're gonna get it for 20 at most, and you're gonna get 100 ml of juice. So when guys like Jeremy Fragrance say that Nautica Voyage is probably one of the most versatile wares, it's pretty much the discounter version or discounter tier of something like Acqua di Gio Armani, he's right. That fragrance beats out most blues, and if it doesn't beat it out, it meets it right where it's at for a much cheaper value. So even though in the air the fragrance starts to smell like somewhat of a expensive designer kind of feel, the dry down is very metallic. This is like Bentley Silver Lake, that type of vibe, which, as you guys know, Silver Lake I think is the worst of the entire line, and it's really the only fragrance I kind of gave a negative review to. So if you're not into like synthetic cheap metallics and stuff like that, stay away from this fragrance. So I'm pretty much saying stay away from this fragrance. And again, this was Polo Blues Parfum, which I think is the only real considerable fragrance in the trio lineup of EDT, EDP, and P, in terms of the one that's going to have the most depth. I think the projection and performance across the board is typically the same, but man, quite a letdown. I give this like a 6 out of 10 at best. Go with Nautica Voyage if you were considering this fragrance. You will have a fragrance that smells much less synthetic, a little bit more natural, leaning on the aquatics. I really hate when fragrances lean on metallics. Metallic isn't really a note that you really want to lead with in a fragrance. It's kind of just a backbone to a fragrance. So for it to lead the fray and kind of be the only thing left out in the air is quite a letdown. Nobody wants to smell like metal. End of story. Yeah, 6 out of 10, guys. This was Polo Blues Parfum, 6 out of 10. Don't even consider the EDP and EDT for the same reasons, because it's worse than this.